Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another video. This time, I wanted to talk about standard banner characters and 4-star characters in general. Which ones are worth building? Now, let me get a little away from this music. I don't think there's a point in really talking about limited 5 stars. Only because you have to pull for them. You purposely have to pull for them, and if it's a character that you want, then you're gonna go for them, right? You're not gonna waste pulls on a 5-star that you don't want, unless I guess you're chasing a specific 4-star character. So I guess in that case, or you could make a statement or like a question where, what about like old characters? Like, are they still viable? Like Jingliu or Blade? These are questions I cannot answer. As you can see, I don't have these characters. But in so I'm not I'm not one of those speed run players. I'm not like a full end game completer kind of player. I'm pretty casual. I'll show you like my completions. Pure Fiction I didn't start yet. That was the most recent one. Forgotten Hall, like the MOC, Memory of Chaos. I unlocked floor 12, but I've been having trouble this rotation, I guess you would say. I think I'm around, like 30 to 32 stars, I would say, in general on this end game mode. Pure Fiction, I get, I unlock the 4th level and I get 8 to 9 stars. That's usually where I end up. And then, same thing here. Wow. Apocalyptic Shadow. I end up, 8 to 9 stars usually. The highest difficulty, I don't really get the stars for it. So that's basically where my character strength is at. My characters aren't all like fully maxed. Like there's improvements, like my Facial's crit ratios aren't the best. I could fully max out her traces. I think my relics are pretty, like at least the main general idea of them are on point. I haven't farmed like all the newest artifact sets. So what I'm trying to say with all this is I'm an average player in this game. So, I'm not gonna give you like the best advice in the world. Like I'm not the Zajev, if you know who that is, of Honkai Star Rail. But, I know how to complete these game modes. I played RPGs for years. And, I watch a lot of Honkai Star Rail content just because it's kind of interesting to me. Because I think, like, the turn-based system and the different, ways you could build the teams and characters is interesting to me. So that's where I'm coming from. That was a bit of a sidetrack, but let's get back to the point. Which standard 5 stars and which just in general 4 stars are worth building? So let me start from the bottom up, because I think it's just easier to go like abundance and then like go that way rather than the other way. So like I said, the limited 5 stars I won't touch, because if you pull for them, you should build them, right? That's the character you wanted, right? In terms of the standard abundance characters, right? So you start with Natasha. You could get a Bailu on the standard banner. Lynx is free. At least Eidolon Zero is free. And you could have gotten a Gallagher for free through the Penacony event. So I think most people have these abundance characters. Now, which ones are worth building? Now, I would say early on, if Bailu, like if you don't have any other limited sustains, I think I would say Bailu is worth building. Only because she has she provides more healing than Lynx or Gallagher or Natasha. Only because she's a 5 star, right? Not just because of that, but she has like healing on different turns, not just the turn that you heal them. And also, one of her things give your characters additional HP, which is like you know more ways to take damage. And also, she has 10% damage reduction. So I think she's pretty solid in general. Her downside is she doesn't have cleanse, which is removing status effects, right? So that's her biggest downside. But I think if you don't have Ho Ho or Luocha or Linksha, like I think it's worth building her because, in my opinion, um, Natasha is not worth building. Now I'll get to why in a second. But I think Bailu is worth building. Um, I'm not biased because I have E2 Bailu. Anyway, so the reason why I don't think Natasha is worth building is so she does have a cleanse, right? So I'll get that story straight. Where is it? Her skill removes one debuff. So she does have a cleanse. It's not on demand. Now, I just wanted to make that clear. What does that mean? So she can only cleanse on her turn. So when it's her turn, that's the only way you could use the skill, right? Whereas like a lynx, um, and like I said, everyone gets a lynx, right? Because she's free. Um, where is it? Uh-huh. Dispel a debuff from all allies and immediately restores their HP. So, obviously you need the energy, to use your ultimate, but the ultimate is on demand. You could use it at any time. Um, it can only dispel one debuff. Wait, dispels one debuffs from all allies. Sorry, that means you could dispel one debuff from each ally. So it's pretty solid. So I think Lynx is better just because of that. Um, Lynx also has a feature where is it? If the target is destruction or preservation, it's like a taunt. It gives aggro to your destruction or preservation units. So just because of that, like Lynx is just objectively better than Natasha, in my opinion. Natasha, um, like I said, she has the status healing debuff effect, but none of her increases the duration of skills continuous healing for one turn. So that's like the only bonus effect that she has. Um, she doesn't really she doesn't really bring anything to the table. So Natasha, in my opinion, is not worth building. Gallagher, depending on which teams you have, I don't think universally he should be built. So he's good on Acheron teams and Super Break teams. Um, Super Break teams because his ultimate hits all enemies. Oh, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Super Break teams um, work that with Firefly, right? Because Firefly is fire element and she implants fire weakness on all enemies. So then if you use Gallagher's ultimate, then you're basically getting a good chance to break all of the enemies. Um, he also gets this cool like action forward thing when he uses his ultimate, so then he gets like to immediately move like after it, essentially. Um, and then what is his other feature? It's just how his HP restore works. So the other thing is he inflicts Besotted, which is like a debuff, which lets you, you know, recover HP from the enemy. It's like a lifesteal feature, right? So that works well with Acheron because Acheron wants debuffs on enemies. I guess it could work with the Dr. Ratio team too, but I haven't built him yet. But yeah, so Gallagher, if you run Firefly or Acheron, otherwise, you know, he is unique. He's kind of like a um, sub DPS healer, so he's kind of niche in that role. But otherwise, Lynx is better overall healer. And like I said, you should definitely build your limited 5-star sustains if you've pulled for them. All right, moving on to preservation. There's no one to talk about here except Japard, because if you pulled Aventurine or you pulled Fujuan, build them, right? They're just better. Japard, so I don't have him. I was really considering picking him for my 300th pull. I haven't used it yet, my 300th warp free pick. But so what does he do? He has a shield on his ultimate, which, like I said before, with Lynx is on demand. Does he have any other features? He has aggro, passive aggro ability. Um, when unyielding will is triggered, he will restore 100% energy. I think that's when he gets struck down. So yeah, when he gets KO'd, he gets back up immediately, and then he could put up his ultimate immediately. So that is interesting. But like, so you know, Japard has his uses, right? So he has an on-demand shield. He does not have a cleanse, right? Neither does Aventurine, right? But I think Aventurine raises the effect resistance of the other characters. But anyway, we all know Aventurine is better than Japard. That's nothing to really discuss. Um, but what Japard does bring is, I guess, this self revive with the ultimate immediately, which I don't think is that valuable, because if Japard is built as a tank, like high HP, high defense, he's probably the last one to go down anyway. So, so who are you really saving with this? You know, Japard will go down last. He'll get back up, put up his shield, and then, who are you defeating with just Japard? So, you know, he could freeze the enemy, which is nice. So Japard is really low, like on the building. Like, I would put Bailu above Japard, only because she's a little bit better at keeping your team alive. But if you really like Japard, if you like shields better than healing, then I guess go for it. But I cannot recommend Japard to build. Like why waste resources on him if you're not going to keep him, right? I guess like if you use artifacts, relics, you could move them to a different character, but traces and EXP books and all that, it kind of be wasted on him. Anyway, so yeah, I cannot recommend building Japard at this time. I guess unless he gets like a niche like team, kind of like Gallagher did with Firefly on the Super Break team. Unless he gets a team like that, I can't really recommend him. All right, Nihility. So there's, like I said, no point talking about Black Swan, Jai Chao, Silver Wolf, Kafka, because they're all limited. No point in talking about Acheron. Um, she's the best, by the way. Anyway, Wealth, I do recommend building. Um, he has a very unique playstyle that he can imprison the enemies, which is basically re- re- remove one turn from them and also action delay them, which is really cool. The rest of his kit is okay, like he does additional damage if the enemy is slowed, and he can slow the enemies, right? But he doesn't have anything else unique. Let me just double check. Um, that increases damage, gives him energy, and more damage. So yeah, he's like a sub DPS. So, like I mentioned in another video, there are these sustainless wealth teams where you use wealth as the quote unquote sustain, where he just kind of like delays and locks the enemy and prevents them from getting their turn. And that's how you run without a sustain. But it's really like you would need really high speed, or like Robin, or like both to even make that work. So it's not really something you could depend on. But if you need another Nihility for Acheron, he's a good choice. Um, if you need a debuffer for Dr. Ratio, he's a good choice. If you just need a sub DPS in general, he's a great choice. So I do recommend building Wealth. He's kind of niche, but he's a good character. Pella, not even worth discussing. She's top tier, and I will just explain why. Because her only role is to spam her ultimate. So you just use her skill consistently and quickly, and then you apply a debuff. What is this? Expose debuff, which is defense reduction. Look at this, 36% defense reduction for 2 turns. That's massive. Like, and the thing is, I'm not gonna get into it too much, because I'm like I said, I'm not the expert here. But defense shred is very rare in Honkai Star Rail. Like, for in terms of buffs and debuffs, like there's like attack buffs, there's damage percent buffs, which is like your elemental damage percent. There's crit rate and crit damage that you could boost. And then finally there's defense shred, which is like its own unique like um kind of buff. It's a debuff on the enemy, and not many characters can do it. Like Pella can do it, Silver Wolf can do it. I would like to say Gwenifin, but I think she just does damage boost. So I think she's one of only 2 characters in the game who provide defense shred. So Pella is so unique and very very strong. Very she's probably the best character to build, best 4-star to build in the game. For any team, she could be slotted in anywhere. So just because she's Nihility, I mean, she's good with Acheron, but she's good with name a DPS, and she's probably good for them. Um, so that's Pella. Sampo is very niche with his teams because besides like Acheron, and maybe like you pair him on a DOT team with Black Swan or Kafka, like he's kind of niche, unfortunately. He does have Blast on his what does this say? With each win dealing 28% of his attack to a random enemy. So he has like random blast, I guess, a skill, and his ultimate is all enemies. And then his talent is basically like a DOT talent. Um, it's just additional damage, right? Based on his attack value. And then, what does this say? They deal less damage, extends the duration, and gives them extra energy. So yeah, he's very niche. He's a DOT character, which is a very specific playstyle. So if you're building DOT or you need another Nihility for Acheron, go ahead build Sampo. Otherwise, it's probably best to stay away from him. Luca is also kind of niche in that he's a physical like break/build unit. Jeez, break/bleed unit. where he can inflict bleed pretty consistently. Um, and he doesn't use much skill points because you don't really need his skill to make Luca work. Um, but he doesn't, he's like a sub DPS, and I don't even think he's the best choice for Acheron because he's single target. Um, so he doesn't do much damage. But you could run him as a sub DPS. I guess if you're missing the physical element, which is kind of why I built him. Um, but he's super niche. I mean, if you like the character, obviously build him. Um, but he doesn't bring much to the table besides, like physical weakness break. So unfortunately, I cannot recommend building Luca at this time. Um, Gwyneth, so there are some reasons to build her. Um, she's good with um, she's good with Acheron. She's decent on DOT. I think Sampo's a little better than her on DOT teams. But what she does is immediately provides like a burn status effect, which is awesome for Acheron, like I said. I guess she's good for Dr. Ratio as well. But she also has her talent, which says when inflicted with Fire Kiss, the enemy receives 6% more damage. So it's like a damage boost. Um, she also on her basic attack has like this says an 80% chance to inflict her debuff. So she doesn't even need to use her skill. She can just offer for a basic attack, inflict the status effect, which helps on Acheron teams a lot. And she just deals more damage. So I do recommend building her. I built her myself for my Acheron team. Um, I think you could slot her in even with other DPSs if you need a sub DPS. Like she's kind of self-sufficient. She doesn't need much skill points. But yeah, depending on which teams you build, like is it Acheron, is it Dr. Ratio, you could make a case for building Gwyneth. Harmony. Now I could just blanket say this. Jeez, I could just blanket say this. Just build all your harmonies. Um, I think the only ones worth discussing really that might be questionable are Hanya, Asta, and Yukong because they kind of don't have a place right now in quote unquote meta teams. Like I said, I'm not the expert on these meta teams, but basically, Trailblazer Harmony um, is part of the Super Break teams. So she enables so many DPSs now, especially Firefly. But like name a DPS, you can make them a Super Break playstyle, and they will do excellent damage. So build your Harmony Trailblazer and really experiment because she opens up so many teams. Um, Bronya, she's kind of fallen off because of the release of Robin and Sparkle and Bruan May, and coming up there's going to be more in the next patch. But she's still unique in that she provides that um, advance forward. So where is it? Her skill, right? Uh, Dispels a debuff and allows them to immediately take action and then buff them. Then her ultimate is like an attack buff and a crit damage buff, and then she has a damage percent buff here, and what else? Okay, that's her crit rate, and then interesting. All allies' defense increased by 20%. So, all around she's pretty solid. Um, she doesn't. I guess you could say like on hyper carry teams, that's where she fulfills her role. but she's still really, really solid. So I would still recommend building your Branya. I did not build her yet. I got her a few months ago. I haven't gotten to build her yet, but she's next on my list. Asta, so it's tough. So I built her in the beginning of the game because obviously you don't really have much choice. Um, but okay, so I'll say the teams that she's most useful are, fire element teams because she can give fire element allies a boost with does her skill do it or is it just the light cone? Let me just check. Um, Okay, it is her skill. So when Asta's on the field, all allies' fire damage increases by 18%. So there you go. So she's really effective in fire element teams. Um, and she can give everyone additional speed, which will get them their turn faster. But this is like the thing that like I said, I'm not the expert at Honkai Star Rail. You'd have to look it up, but basically, speed in this game, um, it gives you more turns. So like someone that has 120 speed will have an additional turn over someone that has 100 speed, and then someone with between 100 and I think it's 136 speed will get another turn, and then someone that has 144 or above, I don't know the exact number, but somewhere around there you get even another turn. So, like I said, I'm not the theory crafting guy on this game, but basically that's generally how it works. You could definitely find out from another resource how it exactly works. But basically, her speed increase could give your character another turn, um, maybe two if they have really low speed. But it's kind of like diminishing returns, where if your character already has like 140 speed and then they get boosted up to like 180, like maybe they'll get another turn. But after a certain point, like um, you don't get a benefit from this. Like maybe your action in the list will go up. I'll have to show it to you in the game. But basically, like if you look in gameplay, maybe I could show it to you. It's kind of a lot to just to show for Asta's thing. But basically, in the turn order, um, she, jeez, I went to the wrong thing. She can help you get up the list, right? And that kind of the usefulness of that kind of drops off, right? That's all I'm saying. So she gives like a small damage boost, and she gives you a little bit more speed. That's basically all Asta does. So I can't really recommend building her with so many other good Harmony options, especially with Harmony Trailblazer. Like Harmony Trailblazer does so much, especially if you have a Dance 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 Lycone. Oh man, then she's really strong. Um, but yeah, I cannot recommend building Asta. Tingyun still is OP. I think there's like a few teams where she's not the best, and it's the teams where your DPS does not really require standard like energy. For example, Acheron, because she builds her own stacks of the debuffs, or who else? Jeez, Fei Zhao doesn't require the normal kind of energy. She builds her own stacks. So Ting Young in those situations is not useful because she won't necessarily help the DPS. But in literally every other case, because everyone else uses energy and everyone else can use, damage buffs, um, she can she can help your team. So build your Ting Young. Um, she's just free energy, 50% energy, 50 energy damage boost, and then attack boost and additional damage. Um, so yeah, she's really different, and that in that no one else provides what she does. Like she's very niche in that respect as a harmony unit. So just give her like a dance like cone, and let her do her thing. So Yukong is very tricky and very difficult to recommend to build. I guess if you built everyone else on your roster and you want to try her out, I guess that's the only point where you should build her, because as good as her buffs are, so she has attack boost of 48%, and this is at level 3, right? And then crit rate by 20%, crit damage by 44%. Like, it sounds insane, right? But um, the thing is, it only lasts for 2 uses, right? Um, it these buffs only last for 2 uses, because it only lasts for each time she has this roaring bowstrings active. Sorry. So it's something like where you need her to act immediately before whoever you want to buff. And she can resist a buff one time. She can increase imaginary damage, and regenerates more energy. So she is super niche. I mean, like if you can get her buffs to work, she's really powerful. But it is so hard to do that I cannot recommend building her. Hanya. Now, I was really excited to get Hanya earlier because I was a Chinche main when I first started this game, and she provides skill points every other turn with her Samsara locked, whatever this thing is called. So for every 2 basic attack skills or ultimates they use on the one that Hanya targeted, you get a skill point. So it's basically free skill points, and Chinche needs a ton of them. So I thought she would be really great. So she's good, she's good because she applies a debuff which says damage increase by 21%, and then her ultimate gives you 17% of Hanya's speed, and then another attack buff. But it's really not that great, to be honest. It kind of sounds better than it is for her, like the free skill points and everything. Like unfortunately, I've been using her for a while, and she's kind of underwhelming. I don't know if it's like I need more Eidolons or something. Let me just take a look. Ultimate duration is extended for another turn. Okay, that's nice. Increase the damage boost effect of the talent by additional 10%. So it's like, she could provide you skill points. So basically, she could be skill point neutral or positive or however you want to define it. And she could provide a bit of a buff, but attack buff is okay. Speed buff is decent, right? But like, and then this gives you like a slight damage boost, but it ain't all that. Like, so she isn't buffing your teammate, and it's a single teammate, that much. And you know, a skill point or two, unless like it works for your team exactly, like in Chinche teams where it cannot, then she doesn't bring as much value as I thought she would. So I kind of regret building Hanya. Maybe I could have put more of those resources into like my Tingyon or into my Bronya, because as interesting as her kit sounds, like it's not that effective. So I cannot recommend building Hanya. Moving on to Erudition. So these are DPSs, and the only ones worth talking about are Himiko, Chinche, Serval, and Herta, because the rest are limited. So Himiko, right off the bat, she shines in pure fiction. She has an ultimate that hits all enemies. She has a blast skill, and her talent hits all enemies. So if you're slacking in pure fiction, like I always am, build your Himeko. Chinche is super niche, and as I've had fun building her, but I cannot recommend her. Like she's cool when she works, but otherwise she's very frustrating. Like you need so many characters to make her work. You need a sparkle. Ideally, you need a silver wolf to make all enemies quantum weak. You need a good sustain. Like she just needs so much. Like I love Chinche, I really do, but I cannot recommend building her. She's not worth your resources unless like you're at the end game and you want to just mess around with other characters. She is fun, but she's not worth your resources, especially when you're just, trying to get through the game. Serval, on the other hand, I do recommend building. I did not build her, and I kind of regret it a little bit. Um, I think the resources I put into a Hun character, which I will talk about. Okay, I'll just tell you. I put a lot of resources into Don Hang, and Don Hang I think is super limited. Don Hang 4 star. So I think if you wanted to put resources into a starter DPS character, it should be Serval, because she's pretty solid. So she has, this blast skill. Her ultimate hits all enemies, and her um, um, talent gives you shock damage to all shocked enemies. So she's just really strong with the DPS. So she has a high chance of shocking enemies. Maybe give her some EHR, even though I don't think that's really what you should be gunning for with her. I think you should just build mostly damage and then maybe go for substats on EHR, on effect hit rate, right? So you could apply the shock status and get even more damage. But I think she's like underrated. Serval is underrated. Um, and you don't even need them to be lightning weak, because you just shock them and hit them with the DOT damage, right? And Herda is really strong in pure fiction because of her ultimate that hits all enemies, her skill, which hits all enemies, um, and then her follow-up attack, which hits all enemies. So she's built for pure fiction. So if you're looking for a character to build for pure fiction, build your Herda. Done. Now, Hun characters. The ones I will be talking about are Yancheng, um, I guess Dr. Ratio. I mean, is it worth talking about him? Like, just build him. He's limited. Um, March 7th, Don Hang, Su Shang, and Mose. So Yan Cheng, I cannot really recommend building him. I mean, okay, if he's your first 5 star and you're looking for a DPS, build him. But he is going to fall off because most other DPSs kind of outshine him. He does single target skill, single target ultimate, but his talent is pretty solid. If you have a good shielder like Japard or Aventurine, you could definitely consider building Yanqing. But otherwise, he's kind of a project character. Sorry to say. Dr. Ratio is technically limited, even though we got him for free, so build him. March 7th is actually really strong. Hunt version. Um, did I gloss over the preservation version? Anyway, what she does is she can pick a Shifu, and she can give them a small buff, which is a speed boost, um, or an attack boost, right? Um, and then her ultimate and talent are like damage ones, and she does a lot of either toughness damage or damage in general, because she could basically take the element of her Sifu and just take out the toughness bars of all the enemies, and she gets tons of follow up attacks every time the Sifu does something. Every time the Sifu uses an attack or ultimate, and then once she hits 7 stacks, she takes action and then she does her thing. So, Hunt March 7th, build her. She is really strong. A great support. And she's skill point positive because she just uses a skill point one time to set the Sifu and then she's good for the rest of the battle. So, highly recommend building her. Don Hang, I liked his design and I like to build like the underdogs, but please do not build your Don Hang besides like the first few, hours in the game. Like you, like don't be like me. Like he's not it. Like I'm sorry. Like unless you have like E6 Don Hang or E4 Don Hang, where he gets another action after he defeats an enemy with his ultimate. But like everything with him is so conditional. It's just not worth it. Don't build him. Sorry to say. Su Shang, I haven't fully built her yet. So if you set up your team to make Su Shang work, and how you do that is by giving her more actions. So she benefits off of um, weakness break. Then she gets like additional speed and damage. So she likes enemies that are weakness broken. And then what else does she do? Um, Damage dealt increases, and her action is forward when enemies are weakness broken. So yeah, she likes speed, and she likes to weakness break enemies. So if you're looking for someone, to take out physically weak enemies, um, or maybe you could pair her with March 7th, Hunt March 7th. But basically, or like on a super break team, I think that would work well as well. Um, but yeah, so Su Shang is kind of like Luca, where if you need a physical carry, or like you need that element covered, she can do it. But otherwise, she's kind of niche. So it's a tough sell to invest into her. Maze, it just came out. I haven't really tried him out. He's very very unique with his kit. He does like some follow up attacks based on his talent, and he also what does this say? And launches the talent's follow up attack against the target. The target is defeated, then launches the follow up attack against a random single. So that's cool. So the cool thing about him is if you know your follow up attack would be wasted, then you could use it on another enemy. So he does a few follow up attacks, and he kind of like what is it? He designates an enemy as prey, so he marks them, and then he gains additional attack percentage. So he's kind of a decent DPS, but he's kind of super niche. But what else does he have in his kit? I'm sorry I can't speak too much on him. I haven't really used him. He could recover a skill point. That's interesting. Um, he has action advance and follow-up attack damage increase. So he's like a minor sub DPS. He works really well with Phase Out. That's all I really know. Um, but as a solo DPS, I don't really know how he shines, because he has his own meter. He has his own, prey meter. So I can't really recommend building Mose. Sorry, I don't know too much about him. But let's move on to destruction and let's wrap this up. So Arlan, please don't be like me. Okay, so yeah. I spent jeez, I spent resources into Arlan when I should have put him into wow, I forgot her name already. Serval, right? I wanted Arlan to work. He does not work. Like if you put him on a team, he will not do much. He will not do that much damage. He likes for his HP to be low. If you have a good shielder, maybe you could figure out a way to make him work, but I cannot. He is like I believe what content creators have said is in the beta for this game, he was actually strong, and then they nerfed him, and now he's kind of unplayable. So it's very unfortunate, but don't build him. Hook, I have never seen anyone use Hook. I'm sorry for any Hook players out there. Oh, she could restore her own HP. That's interesting. She has chance to resist debuffs. Action forward. She's just like a fire DPS. Um, but I don't really, and I guess this is blast for her ultimate. But I can't recommend building Hook. She's not that great. Zwei Yi, on the other hand, one of my favorite DPSs. I got her E6, thank you. Um, so she has a unique kick where her ultimate can reduce any toughness bar. Ideally, you want to pair her with, someone like Silver Wolf, where you could take out the toughness bar of any enemy because she's quantum. But she is super cool in that she's follow-up based. She's follow-up based, and she builds up her stacks with reducing the enemy's toughness bars. Um, but if you're into like a unique kind of like she's destruction, but she kind of plays like erudition, where she has like a blast skill, single target ultimate, and she does pretty decent damage, especially with her follow ups. She's not the strongest, but if you like her, go for her. She's a lot of fun to build and play with. The only other character that I'll talk about is Clara because I don't know too much about Misha, unfortunately. I don't know too much about his kit. So I'm not gonna pretend like I know how to build Misha. I can't recommend building him, sorry, because I don't know his kit. But Clara is so unique, and if you have her, and physical weakness does come up, so I think you should build him. Oh, geez, build her. She's great. She's great for beginner characters, beginner players. In that she just kind of plays herself if you just build her up. Give her a good healer, or a good shielder, and then just let her go to work. She'll take out everybody. You can even pair her with other DPSs and let her take the aggro. So yeah, build your Clara. And that's really all I had to say about this. I hope this helped you out. I mean, this roster list is growing, and I just wanted to help anyone out that needed to spend their resources and they wanted to do it wisely, and not invest on characters that don't really are not really worth your hard-earned resources. So I hope to see you guys in the next video. Take care.